These are the best champions from every year in WWE history, starting from 1997. The WWF title scene in 1997 was turbulent, with the title changing hands multiple times among Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Psycho Sid, and Bret Hart. However, it was the Hitman's reign in late summer that ended up defining the entire year. After Shawn Michaels vacated the title in January, Bret won it in a four-man elimination match, lost it to Psycho Sid the next night, then turned heel and rebuilt the Hart Foundation. He recaptured the gold from The Undertaker at SummerSlam in a controversial finish involving Shawn Michaels, and his anti-American heel character was some of the finest work of his career. Then came the Montreal Screwjob, and the most controversial finish in wrestling history ended Bret's WWF run forever. The year also had an explosive IC title scene that revolved around Bret's brother Owen, Austin, and The Rock. But when it's all said and done, 1997 was the Hitman's final stand. The following year, however, marked the beginning of the Austin era. Austin won the Royal Rumble and then defeated Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14 to win his first WWF Championship. His reign lasted 91 days with defenses against Triple H and Dude Love before Kane dethroned him at King of the Ring. Austin won it back the next night and held it another 90 days, defending against Undertaker at SummerSlam. As runner-up, The Rock's 265-day IC title reign was one of the greatest secondary title runs in the company's history and cemented the Brahma Bull's position on top of the card. However, Austin's wars with the Brothers of Destruction and his feud with Vince McMahon made Raw must-watch every week, and the popularity of the Texas Rattlesnake was simply unmatchable. Austin continued his hot run in 1999 as wrestling peaked in mainstream America. He won his third WWF Championship at WrestleMania over The Rock, retained at Backlash, but the year's title picture was chaotic by design. Austin lost the belt to Undertaker in May, won it back in June, lost it again to Mankind at SummerSlam. Through all the title changes, Austin remained the constant that kept audiences locked in every single Monday night. Raw was pulling numbers professional wrestling had never seen, and the Texas Rattlesnake was the hottest act in wrestling. However, as the year 2000 rolled out and with Austin sidelined by surgery, The Rock stepped up and delivered his finest title reign. After getting betrayed by Vince at WrestleMania 2000, Rock won the WWF Championship at Backlash against Triple H. His 119-day reign was his greatest ever, with defenses against Chris Benoit at Fully Loaded, Triple H, and Kurt Angle at SummerSlam, and a fatal four-way against Benoit and the Brothers of Destruction at Unforgiven. Triple H also had a lengthy title reign at the start of the year, and the tag division was being redefined forever. But nobody came close to the energy of the Great One in 2000. 2001 started off hot with the road to WrestleMania 17, but failed to keep the momentum going with the Flop Invasion storyline. However, it was Austin's heel run as champion that took center stage during this year. As a villain, Austin feuded with Jericho, Benoit, and Angle through the Invasion storyline, delivering some of the best matches of his later career. His 175-day reign was the longest since 1996, and though it wasn't his best, it gave the company credibility during a turbulent period. But with stars like Austin and Rock becoming part-timers, the next big thing took over in 2002. Nobody in WWE history has had a debut year like Brock Lesnar. Within months of his arrival, he won King of the Ring and then dethroned The Rock at SummerSlam to become the youngest WWE champion in history at just 25 years old. His first reign included brutal feuds with The Undertaker and Big Show, before Paul Heyman's shocking betrayal handed the title to Show at Survivor Series. The title picture on SmackDown revolved entirely around Lesnar's gravitational pull. Even when he didn't have the belt, every match felt like it was building back toward him. Lesnar won the Royal Rumble in 2003, reclaimed the WWE Championship from Kurt Angle, and the year that followed was the finest of his first run. His rivalry with Kurt Angle was a wrestling masterpiece, culminating in a 60-minute Iron Man match on SmackDown, widely considered one of the greatest television matches in company history. He defended against John Cena, Chris Benoit, Big Show, and even The Undertaker in a biker chain match at No Mercy. And despite losing the belt briefly to Angle at Vengeance, he reclaimed it and carried SmackDown as its unquestioned top dog all year long. Pro Wrestling Illustrated ranked Lesnar as the #1 wrestler in the world in 2003, and they were right. However, 2004 would be defined by a championship reign nobody saw coming. The year of 2004 started with surprise as Eddie Guerrero dethroned Brock Lesnar at No Way Out. However, Eddie's reign would be cut short by none other than APA's Bradshaw, who is now reincarnated as JBL. When John Bradshaw Layfield beat Eddie Guerrero for the WWE Championship in a Texas Bull Rope match, most fans assumed it was a transitional reign. Instead, JBL held the title for 280 days, the longest reign in a decade. Backed by his cabinet stable, the self-proclaimed wrestling god defeated Eddie Guerrero, The Undertaker in a last-ride match at No Mercy, Booker T at Survivor Series, and survived a barbed wire steel cage at No Way Out against Big Show. It wasn't always pretty. Most of his wins came controversially, but JBL was the perfect heel to make you despise the champion. His reign ultimately existed to build John Cena as the company's next face, and on that front, it was a total success. 2005 saw the story culminate as Cena defeated JBL for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 21, but the year would be defined by the Animal's run at the top. Batista won the Royal Rumble, left Evolution, and then beat Triple H at WrestleMania 21 to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Then he did it again at Backlash. Then he did it once more inside Hell in a Cell at Vengeance. 3 consecutive pay-per-view victories over the most protected man in WWE at the time gave Batista undeniable main event credibility. Drafted to SmackDown after Vengeance, he reigned for 282 days total before a triceps injury forced him to vacate in January 2006. The Animal was getting the loudest crowd reactions on the Blue brand, and with fans turning on Cena in 2005, the year belonged to Big Dave and the Big Gold. 2006 saw the WWE title change hands multiple times among John Cena, Edge, and Rob Van Dam. But while the title picture on Raw was in chaos mode, an Olympic gold medalist on SmackDown quietly had the most exciting reign on the year. When Batista vacated the World Heavyweight title due to injury in early 2006, Kurt Angle capitalized on the situation, and the Wrestling Machine instantly became SmackDown's most compelling champion. He defended the title against Mark Henry at Royal Rumble, and then against The Undertaker at No Way Out in a critically acclaimed match. He brought an intensity and match quality to the title that the Blue brand desperately needed. His reign ended at WrestleMania 22 when he lost the title to Rey Mysterio, but in his final reign before departing to TNA, Angle reminded everyone exactly why he was one of the greatest to ever step inside the ring. But after the chaos of 2006-2007 belonged completely to John Cena. Cena's 380-day WWE Championship reign is one of the longest in modern history, and 2007 saw him defend it across an astonishing gauntlet. Last man standing against Umaga at the Royal Rumble, a WrestleMania 23 main event against Shawn Michaels, victories over the Great Khali, Bobby Lashley, and a rivalry with Randy Orton through the summer. The reign ended with a torn pectoral muscle injury against Mr. Kennedy in October 2007. But despite the controversy that always surrounded him, no one worked harder or carried more weight that year than John Cena. 2008 gave us one of the most interesting character reinventions of all time as Chris Jericho put on a suit and became the biggest heel on the roster. He won the World Heavyweight Championship in a championship scramble at Unforgiven, then defended it in a ladder match classic against Shawn Michaels at No Mercy. He lost the title to Batista, won it back in a steel cage on Raw 8 days later, then dropped it to a returning John Cena at Survivor Series. Despite the title changes, Jericho was the undisputed best performer of the year as his promos, character work, and his feud with Michaels elevated the entire product. But as the calendar turned to 2009, nobody in the WWE was more dominant than Randy Orton. Orton led Legacy in a calculated demolition of the McMahon family, punting skulls and winning the WWE Championship. His feud with Triple H alone produced a 3 stages of hell match at the Bash, and his subsequent battles with Batista and John Cena headlined Raw's main event scene. The title changed hands multiple times between Orton and Cena, but Orton was the undeniable constant holding the entire Raw main event together in 2009. The following year, in 2010, the WWE title scene struggled to find its footing as the title changed hands among Cena, Batista, Sheamus, Orton, and The Miz. But while all that chaos was unfolding on Raw, the Blue brand gave us an unexpected story. Kane cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase on a weakened Rey Mysterio the same night he won it, kickstarting a 154-day World Heavyweight title reign that nobody saw coming. Backed by a storyline centered around the mystery of who attacked The Undertaker, Kane defended against Mysterio at SummerSlam and battled The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell and even a Buried Alive match. It wasn't the most technically celebrated reign, but Kane in 2010 fit perfectly as the menacing heel and finally got the long title run his career deserved. As a runner-up, Dolph Ziggler's 5-month IC title reign cemented him as a future star and a prominent name on the Blue brand. But after the uncertainty of 2010, 2011, and 2012 would be defined by one man. CM Punk's pipe bomb in 2011 changed professional wrestling overnight. He defeated John Cena at Money in the Bank in his hometown of Chicago, walked out with the title, and ignited the biggest organic fan reaction of the PG era. After losing the belt to Alberto Del Rio, Punk recaptured it at Survivor Series and held it for a record 434 days. 13 pay-per-view defenses followed, beating Del Rio, Dolph Ziggler, Chris Jericho, Daniel Bryan, and surviving Kane, Cena, and Ryback. Punk's alliance with Paul Heyman added layers to his character, before The Rock finally ended the reign at Royal Rumble 2013. 2013 was a mixed bag of highs and lows, and with Daniel Bryan chasing the WWE Championship, Randy Orton became the ultimate bad guy on top of the card. Orton became the hand-picked face of WWE, and spent the rest of the year proving he could carry that role. He defeated Bryan at Hell in a Cell, then made history at TLC by defeating John Cena in a TLC match to unify the WWE and World Heavyweight Championships into one title. His 160-day reign was controversial, but gave Bryan's story a compelling antagonist to work towards. However, after Bryan's short-lived title reign, Brock Lesnar became 2014's most dominant champion. He won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam by demolishing John Cena with 16 suplexes in a match that felt like a public execution. The Beast incarnate didn't need to appear every week. His aura alone after destroying Taker and Cena was enough to make the title feel more important than it had in years. But as the calendar turned to 2015, it wasn't the world title, but the US title that became the most exciting thing on Raw. While Rollins had a fun title reign and defenses against Orton, Sting, and Kane, John Cena made the United States Championship the most talked-about title in professional wrestling in 2015. The US Open Challenge became the weekly highlight of Raw, elevating the title and the challengers simultaneously. Neville, Cesaro, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Dean Ambrose all had career highlight matches against the champ, and the US title felt important again. But while 2015 was decent, 2016 was phenomenal. Styles debuted at the Royal Rumble, won the WWE Championship for the first time at Backlash, and never looked back. His 140-day reign saw him defeat Dean Ambrose and John Cena, carrying SmackDown on his back. The title picture around him was stacked, and Styles was the constant that made every story work. But as 2017 rolled around, the WWE title scene became chaotic again with multiple title changes among Bray Wyatt, Orton, Styles, and even Jinder Mahal. Meanwhile, the Universal title scene on Raw struggled to build momentum as Brock Lesnar went back to his part-time status. But while all this was unfolding, Jimmy and Jey Uso quietly became a confident, trash-talking heel tag team that nobody could touch. Their feud with The New Day was the best tag team rivalry of the modern era, producing classics across multiple pay-per-views throughout the year. The reign was historic, the character work was evolving, and in 2017, the Usos were the most credible champions in the WWE. But 2018 gave us another twist when NXT proved it could create a champion as menacing as anything on the main roster. Ciampa had already betrayed his best friend Johnny Gargano the year prior, and in 2018, he won the NXT Championship from Aleister Black to become the most despised villain in the brand's history. He called the belt Goldie and treated it like his child. His 237-day reign finally ended in March 2019 when a neck injury forced him to vacate. But in 2018, nobody came close to the brilliance of Ciampa. With Ciampa out of action, Adam Cole entered 2019 by winning the championship, and then spent the next 403 days making history. The longest NXT championship reign ever was built on the back of an extraordinary series with Gargano, and high-profile defenses against Ciampa, Finn, Pete Dunne, and even Seth Rollins on Raw and Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. But as we entered 2020, WWE entered a challenging period with empty arenas and the Thunderdome. However, during this chaotic period, Drew McIntyre anchored the main event scene on Raw. He eliminated Brock Lesnar to win the Royal Rumble, then beat Lesnar at WrestleMania 36 to win his first WWE Championship. The moment he'd worked 15 years for arrived without a single fan to validate it. Yet McIntyre carried the title with dignity through one of the hardest periods in WWE history, defending it in brutal wars against Randy Orton and keeping Raw afloat while the world was locked down. But as fans returned in 2021, the next 3 years would be defined by one historic title reign. Roman Reigns' Tribal Chief run became the focal point of WWE from 2021 to 2023. His Universal Championship reign began in late 2020 and never stopped, defeating Daniel Bryan, Edge, John Cena, Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar across 3 consecutive years. He unified the titles at WrestleMania 38 by defeating Lesnar, and the Bloodline storyline added dimension after dimension. Paul Heyman as the special counsel, the Usos as enforcers, and the heartbreaking Sami Zayn arc that had the whole industry talking in 2022 and 2023. The reign surpassed 1,000 days, and by the time Cody Rhodes dethroned him at Mania 40, Roman Reigns had redefined what it meant to be the face of WWE. But after Reigns' title run ended and Cody Rhodes took over, the American Nightmare's title reign that followed ended up being a disappointment. The most dominant champion during this time was Gunther, who held the IC title for 600 days and even won the World Heavyweight Championship. As IC champion, he steamrolled Ricochet, defeated Sheamus at Clash at the Castle, and had an unforgettable triple threat war at WrestleMania 39. As world champion, he brought credibility to the title before being booked like a joke and dropping it to Jey Uso at WrestleMania 41 in 2025. But the year of 2025 belonged to one man, and his name is John Cena. Cena won his record-breaking 17th World Championship at WrestleMania 41 and had defenses against Randy Orton and CM Punk before finally losing to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. During one of the worst years in WWE from a creative standpoint, Super Cena made the product watchable and ruled the company as its top champion one last time. And this brings us to 2026. This year we've seen Roman Reigns with the world title, Trick Williams became US champion, and Penta as the IC champion. So let me know in the comments who's been the best champion of 2026.